Kunda Vihare Jaya Gopirana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Gopirana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Vrajadanaranyana Yashodanandana Vrajadanaranyana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunda Vihari Jaya Jaya Radha Madhava Kunda Vihari Jaya Radha Radha Kunda Gopirana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Jaya Gopirana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Yashodanandana Vrajadanaranyana Yashodanandana Vrajadanaranyana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Vishnupada Paramahamsa Parivakacharya Astata Shishimat His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki ISKCON Founder His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Anatapudi Vaishnava Vinda Ki Jai Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai Gura Premanande. All glories to assembled devotees. All glories to assembled devotees. All glories to assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. Oh, that's nice. Yes, all right. So good morning, dear devotees. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, everyone, for being here for the Srimad Bhagavatam class. So, let's do our prayers. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. You can recite along with me. Narayanam namaskritya naram cheva narotamam devim sarasvatim vyasam tato jayam udirayat naste paishu avateshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttama sloke bhakti bhavati naistike. So we are here together in the morning class, reading from Srimad Bhagavatam. Bhagavatam, we know, is a narration of the Supreme Lord and His devotees. It establishes very clearly Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna tu Bhagavam Swayam. So there is a very nice verse which I wanted to recite first. It says, Yas yam vai shruyamana yam Krishna parama purushe bhaktir utpatyate pumsa soka moha vayapaha. And it says, simply by giving oral reception to this Vedic literature, the feeling for loving devotional service to Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, sprouts up at once to extinguish the fire of lamentation, illusion and fearfulness. That's from Srimad Bhagavatam 177. So that's just a reminder why we are here every morning and hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. Okay, so we can recite the verse together first. Ititam vira maritsaha kripanam bahubashinim pratyahanu nayan vacha pravridhananga kashmalam ititam viramaritsaha kripanam bahubashinim pratyahanu nayan vacha pravridhananga kashmalam. Anyone would like to recite, please? From the male side first. Ititam viramaricha kripanam bahubashinim pratyahanam yanvacha pravridhananga kashmalam. Ititam viramaricha kripanam bahubashinim pratyahananu yanvacha pravridhananga kashmalam. Maybe ladies' side can continue. Ititam viramaricha Kripanam bahubhashinim Pratyahanunayam vacha Pravritananga kashmalam. Anyone else? Not today. Okay. So, yes. So the verse goes, okay, iti, thus, tam, unto her, vira, ohiru, marichaha, the son of Marichi, Kashyapa, kripanam, unto the poor, bahubhasinim, too talkative, pratyaha, replied, anunayan, pacifying, vacha, by words, pravrittaha, highly agitated, ananga, lust, kasmalam, contaminated. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. O hero, Vidura, Diti being thus afflicted by the contamination of lust, and therefore poor and talkative, was pacified by the son of Marichi in suitable words. Please repeat. O hero, Vidura, Diti, being thus afflicted by the contamination of lust, and therefore poor and talkative, was pacified by the son of Marichi in suitable words. Purport. When a man or woman is afflicted by the lust of sex desire, it is to be understood as sinful contamination. Kashyapa was engaged in his spiritual activities, but he did not have sufficient strength to refuse his wife, who was thus afflicted. He could have refused her with strong words, expressing impossibility, but he was not as spiritual strong as Vidura. Vidura is addressed here as hero, because no one is stronger in self-control than a devotee of the Lord. It appears that Kashyapa was already inclined to have sexual enjoyment with his wife, and because he was not a strong man, he tried to dissuade her only with pacifying words. So we can pray together the initial mantra. Om Jnana Timidandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chakshun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Svayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Svapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Gutta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavam Shri Rupam Sagadatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vidam Tam Sadevam Sadvetam Savadutam Paridana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Visakan Vitam Sta He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gourangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpa Tarupyasta Kripa Sindhupya Evata Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Yeah, so first of all, I would like to give me your well-wishing blessings for this class today morning. Yeah, so here in this chapter, just to give a short how we come here to this point of text 16. So Vidura We know he had left Hastinapur, and he was on a pilgrimage. On that pilgrimage, he met with the great personalities, and he is here right now in a talk with Maitreya Muni, and he is actually inquiring about transcendental knowledge, about Lord Varaha, about his appearance, the appearance of Lord Varaha, and what was actually the cause of the fight of Lord Varaha and Hiranyaksha. So Maitreya Muni, who is Mahabhagavat, so he feels very enlivened, he feels very happy and very inspired by these inquiries of Vidura. And there he begins the narration, and here in our chapter now it is entitled chapter 14 of Canton 3, Pregnancy of Diti in the Evening. So the situation is that Diti approached her husband, Kashyapa, for union at twilight. So that's the night in the evening just before sunset, and this is a very inauspicious time for conceiving a child. So here in today's verse, we basically hear about Diti's state of consciousness and the reaction of her husband towards it. So I first of all wanted to remind us once again, like also other speakers did, that actually here there are two great personalities. We are looking at Diti and Kashyapa Muni, and we are fortunate enough to receive a little glimpse into their life, which is not only a pastime of the Supreme Personality of Godhead arranged by Krishna, but also in the Srimad Bhagavatam meant for us to learn something, to become purified and to learn from this. So we know that any narrations in relation to the Supreme Personality of Godhead are very purifying and uplifting, and that are transformational. They transform the hearts of the hearer, especially when it is heard with the right attitude and when it is coming from the right source. So, yes. So we have that beautiful verse, which we also recite many times in the morning, but I will recite it now at this point. Shrinvatam svakata Krishna punya shravana kirtanam hit antusti abhadrani vidunoti suritsatam. So it says here, Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, who is the Paramatma, super soul in everyone's heart, and the benefactor of the truthful devotee, cleanses the desire for material enjoyment from the heart of the devotee, who has developed the urge to hear his messages, which are in themselves virtuous when properly heard and chanted. So as conditioned souls, trying to be on the path of bhakti, we all come with an unclean heart, which needs to be cleansed. So this is, I wanted to remind us of the purpose we are hearing here, this beautiful pastime. So Sukadev Goswami, he perfected his life by speaking Srimad Bhagavatam, and Maharaj Pariksit, he perfected his life by hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam. So let us try to follow in their footsteps. So Diti, the daughter of Daksha, is said here is to be afflicted by the contamination of lust. So in the Bhagavad Gita, in the purport to 336, Prabhupada says, a living entity in contact with material nature acts in many sinful ways without hesitation, and sometimes even against his will. And he continues in the text to 37, same chapter. No, actually there Krishna said, it is lust only, Arjuna, which born of contact the material modes of nature, which is born with the contact of material modes of nature, passion. So, yes, so here we have Aditi. Yeah, so that is in general, that is also obviously meant for us, that the living entity, born as pure spirit soul, being a pure spirit soul, being born in this material world, becomes contaminated with the modes of material nature. And here Prabhupada makes a very specific saying in this purport here. He says, when a man or woman is afflicted by lust of sex desire, it is to be understood a sinful contamination. So here's a question: what makes actually sex sinful? And yes, so we understand that the sex urge is something very natural and is not sinful at all in itself. But what makes it sinful is when it is uncontrolled, the urge is uncontrolled and is not properly engaged. So that makes it sinful. Because Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita again in 7:11, Dam maviru do bhuteshu kamusmi bharata shaba. He said, I am sex life, which is not contrary to religious principles. Yes, so the word afflicted from the dictionary actually translates as very grievously affected by especially disease. So we hear Prabhupada often saying that the living entities are very much diseased. So there is comparison given. And in one purport, Prabhupada in Canto 3, 26.6, he expressed it like, the forgetful living entity can be compared to a man who is under the influence of disease and has become mad. So it is actually, what is the disease? It's actually that we have forgotten that we are. We have forgotten our identity. We have forgotten who we are. And that is our disease. We identify ourselves with material bodies, with material nature. We take up negative qualities like lust, anger, greed, pride, envy, anxieties. So, but nevertheless, the living entity has basically forgotten the object of its love. It comes in a pure state. Pure state means a loving servant of Krishna. But being in contact with the modes of nature, it has forgotten the object of love. And Prabhupada describes the sense of love of God becomes transformed into lust when milk is in contact with the sour tamarind. And thus the milk is transformed into yogurt. So this one of the or two symptoms described here of this lust are poor and talkative. So poor I understand to be referring now to the state of Aditi's consciousness. So her consciousness was, she was in a pitiable state because she was afflicted with this very strong urge to beget a child, which in itself is rightful, but unfortunately the time wasn't right. So and also poor in her consciousness because she didn't consider any consequences of her actions. She didn't think about how to actually achieve what she wanted to achieve in a dharmic way. Because she had a dharmic desire, but she had a very strong urge in fulfilling this in an adharmic way. So she was basically shot by the arrows of Cupid in a very strong way. So what we as conditioned souls can take away from there, so I was thinking just assuming that Diti properly, because we heard she had 12 co-sisters, or Kashyapuni had 12 co-wives were there, so they all had children, and so she naturally, as a woman, as a wife, she also would like to have a child. And they are both there, Kashyapa and all his wives, to propagate this universe here. So, but what it was is she must have contemplated on this for quite a long time, was my thought, that. And then we know when we go to contemplate on the sense objects, on and on and on, we will develop attachment for this. And this attachment becomes very strong, turns into lust, And Prabhupada has said here, by lust of sex desire. So that was the contamination, the sinful contamination. So it turned into very strong lust. And her mind also must have been then engaged in this process of thinking, feeling, willing, which is then very... It starts with a little thought, and by contemplation it ends up with a really forceful, yes, I want to do it. So, and she regretted it later, And this may happen also to us when we just contemplate on our sense objects, without maybe, when we have a certain situation in life, problem situation, or whatever we want to do, it's better to reveal our mind, I thought, instead of... instead of just keeping it to ourselves, reveal our mind to somebody and find solutions to that problem together, and think it really through so that we come to the right decisions. So maybe even before the problems occurs even. So that would be more like a sattvic way. And also we know it is a fact actually that when the person is influenced by external energy, then actually we are under our own perception, and then we cannot understand the real substance. So that's how she couldn't really hear what Kashyapa Muni is going to say, or is saying to her. He couldn't really understand, couldn't really think through. So it is said by a Vaishnava, by a great Vaishnava poet is said, when a man is haunted by ghosts, he can only speak nonsense. Similarly, anyone who is under the influence of material nature should be considered haunted, and whatever he speaks should be considered nonsense. So that's a very strong statement actually, because it refers to any speak, but here we see that the modes of material nature have such qualities that anything which is not about Krishna, not in relation to Krishna, is actually not very bona fide, so it's not, so it's, and here haunted, we can see actually, especially in the lower modes, people in the lower modes, you see on the streets, you have gone on book distribution, you must have had probably some interactions with people where you were really surprised, or just not maybe interacted, but seeing them on the street. They're acting a little strange, and they are maybe very abrupt. Also, they are shouting suddenly, they're talking nonsensically, and they're showing very irrational behavior, and it looks like just like haunted, So this symptom of poor and talkative, because it goes together, the urges of the mind and the urges of the speech. So what is in the mind comes out in the speech. Is actually very strongly awakened in this age of Kali Yuga, and very strongly awakened in our society and worldwide. Because great attachment and lust is awakened in society. So the urge to speak is very strong, anyway, in all living beings. And there's a quote in Nectar of Instruction where it says, a toad in a field, Jai Shri Radha Gokulananda, Sitaram Lakshman Hanuman, Shri Gaur Nitai Ki Jai. A toad in a field speaks by croaking, and similar, everyone who has a tongue wants to speak, even if all he has to say is nonsense. The croaking of the toad, however, simply invites the snake, please come here and eat me. Nevertheless, also it is an invitation to death, the toad goes on croaking. So we have so many stimulations from social media, television still, radio, YouTube, which is not a Krishna conscious stimulation, which is material. So, and everyone has something to say, because everyone is so much afflicted actually by lust, material desires and material attachments, and through their speech it is presented, and it's also, they want to implant this material desires in the hearts of the hearer, and so you hear a nice class and suddenly some awkward ads come up there to allure and to take you away from your Krishna consciousness. So yet the whole, but what is the good thing out of all of this here, what we hear, is that we just need to take this process of contemplating, getting attached to, and talking about, and replace the object. Just replace the object. And then we replace the object with Krishna, or with topics relating to Krishna. And then everything will function very favorably for us, because as we contemplate on the transcendental sense objects of Krishna, then attachment for Krishna will arise, and that will stimulate us to talk about him, which is again very purifying, uplifting, and helps the spirit soul really to gain back their original state, coming out of this forgetful state, understanding who they really are. So, many devotees, their senses are purified, their intelligence, mind is purified, and we hear them speaking hours and hours on Krishna consciousness, here in our ISKCON movement. So these type of talkative is very rich, is very healthy, is wealthy, and is very much appreciated and encouraged. So going on from here, it says in this verse, Kashyapa pacified Diti by suitable words. And in the purport, Srila Prabhupada informs us that he was engaged in spiritual activities, but he did not have sufficient strength to refuse his wife. So, and then it says also, he was not as spiritual strong as Vidura. And the verse itself, here Maitreya Muni also, he addresses Vidura as hero. He's saying, he addresses Vidura as hero. So I wanted to contemplate a little bit like, why Vidura, in what sense is Vidura a hero? Because he did not act as a fighter, he wasn't in the war, he didn't want to win the battle or win the kingdom. So in what sense was Vidura the hero? So this brought me to this Srimad Bhagavatam verse 11:19, 36 to 39. So there, Prabhupada describes what is real heroism. And he says, real heroism is to conquer one's natural tendency to enjoy material life. So natural tendency to enjoy material life, but he can conquer. And a real hero is to conquer one's lower nature. Certainly everyone likes to propagate his own fame as a brilliant person, but everyone is also subject to lust, anger, greed, and so forth. Therefore, if one can conquer these lower characteristics generated from the mode of passion and ignorance, one is a greater hero than those who merely destroy their political opponents through intrigue and violence. So what does this remind us of? Like Vidura as a pure devotee, when he was very strongly insulted by Duryodhana in the palace and with very much heart-piercing words, he was not subjected to lust and anger and greed, and he did not retaliate. He was very self-controlled, and he took this instance rather as an arrangement by Krishna, by high arrangement and by the Lord, and he immediately left the palace. He decided to leave the palace and to go on pilgrimage for his purification. And we see further also that Vidura, on that pilgrimage, there he actually met Krishna, he met Uddhava, and he met Maitreya Muni, which brings us right now here, where we are here at this story, because Maitreya Muni is, Vidura is inquiring from Maitreya Muni. So his intelligence is definitely surcharged with pure transcendental knowledge on the loving devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and he is the real hero. So that was very insightful, I thought, on hero, how Vidura is addressed as hero. And Prabhupada actually also brings out in another verse 4:25 in the purport, where he describes two heroes. Okay, so in the material world we also have heroes. One hero is when he is a victim of the illusionary energy and he works as a great hero in the material world, as a great leader, as a politician, businessman, industrialist. And he is heroic activities contribute to the material advancement of civilization. So that's a materialistic hero. But then he also points out, one can also become a hero by being the master of the senses, a Goswami, Material activities are false heroic activities, whereas restraining the senses from material engagement is heroism. So, however great one may be in this material world, he can be immediately conquered by, this Prabhupada says actually further, lumps of flesh and blood known as the breasts of women. So, for example, there was an example given of Caesar, Julius, I believe it is Caesar, is that a Roman hero, and he was captivated by Cleopatra by her beauty. And there's also given the example of Braj Rao. He was a devotee, he was a person who was, he got killed actually. He got killed by the kiss of a Vishakanya. So this is a poisonous girl. So these girls are actually grown up. They get a little bit of poison throughout their lifetime, and they get immune against it. But when their body is touched, especially through a kiss, so then the person will be killed. Yeah, so that happens to these materialistic heroes, getting killed by their own sense gratification. Yeah. So. But nevertheless, we have the choice. We are here in this material world, but we can keep ourselves steady and resist the attraction of material nature, or and decide in this way to become a hero, and that is called Goswami. Like in Nectar of Instruction, we know what makes a Goswami, the guru, so who can control his senses. So we have a beautiful example of Srila Haridas Thakur. Obviously, we all know about this. But he is our Namacharya. He chants the holy names endlessly. And he got, approached by a prostitute. And what was his reaction? He was even saying, all right, so please stay here. I will enjoy with you for sure, but I will comply your desires, but stay here, and I have to finish first my rounds. So he did chant and chant. So night came, and then he said, "Sorry, I haven't finished my rounds yet." So she decided to go, and for 3 days she did the same, going home and coming back in daytime. And after that, not successful in her approach, but she actually started chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. So she got affected by the association of Haridas Thakur, and her heart transformed, and she actually became a great Vaishnavi by taking up the process of chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, worshipping the Lord, and she worshipped Tulsi Devi. So this is the greatness of the association of pure devotees, and the strength of the pure devotees surrendered to the lotus feet of the Lord. So idle meditation is something which at least distracts us from material engagements, from being naughty in our material activities, at least for the time being. But we see here devotional service is definitely the one which puts an end to all mundane, nonsensical activities, and one becomes purified, and one engages in pleasing devotional service to Krishna with all one's senses. So, sorry, I'm looking here for something. Okay. Yeah, so coming to this point, so now here we see that Kashyapa, he tried to pacify his good wife, but he could not. And Diti was under the influence of contaminating lust. So what can we take away from this here? So the obvious link, obviously, the more obvious item for me is that, okay, so how can we become actually spiritual strong? How do we learn from that? How do we strengthen our spiritual strengths? So, do you have any suggestion? on this topic, because you all are practitioners and you must do something to keep yourself strong. Okay, there's one. Yes, Govinda Prabhu.
Name it and tame it.
What did you say?
Name it and tame it.
Name it and tame it.
Yeah, just by acknowledging them, speaking them.
Oh, I see. Oh, okay, wonderful. Name it and tame it. Yes, exactly. Yeah, thank you. That is something which I also wanted to, which I meant to address before earlier. You have seen it. That yes, name it and tame it. Speak about it. First be aware, recognize it, and then name it and tame it. Speak about it. Yeah, control it. Taming means controlling. Yeah. Okay. Find something. Anything else from other side? Bhaktivedanta Prabhu, yes, please.
It occurs to me the main point here is she was pacified by the son of Marichi in suitable words. Suitable words means that actually you console a person who you know has done sin. It's like I think Jesus said it's not the sin that you should blame or the person, but forgiveness is the main part that comes here, and
all right.
So whatever a person's done, we have it in the that forgiveness is the heart of the matter.
Thank
actually,
you. Yeah,
it seems to me.
Yeah, good point too. So be a little bit compassionate to yourself also when you're making the very much endeavors to become spiritual strong. But there may be some ups and downs, and don't judge others. Rather see it in a forgiving way. Thank you. Okay. Yes, Prabhupada Priya.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. Yeah, very good question to ponder, how to become spiritually strong.
Yeah.
I was thinking that we've been doing these Nectar of Devotion classes.
I'm coming to this, but anyway, good. Yeah,
and
please.
talking about the 5 potent processes of devotional service.
Yeah, great.
And so you mentioned Haridas Thakur chanting the holy names, also hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, worshipping the deity, associating with devotees, living in a holy place. So we've been hearing all the amazing potencies of these potent processes, and I was thinking that when we perform these processes, we also get potency.
Yeah.
Right? The potency of the processes comes to us, and then we get spiritual potency to be able to resist Maya, resist all these opportunities for sense gratification.
Thank you so much. Yes. So that's very wonderful how you're pointing out potency. The potency. There is potency, and we receive the potency by following the process, but following also the person with it who has put this process into practice. So there's another blessings we are receiving with that potency also. Yeah, thank you so much. And maybe because of time I have to look a little bit, so I'm going on because I have a little bit. Oh, okay. Krishna Baba, please.
I have a question.
Oh, can I first continue?
Yeah, please.
Question at the end. It's okay? Good. We are nearly there. So how do we become spiritual strong? Okay, so this was definitely a good answers you are giving me here, wonderful. And just to support this, I wanted to read out 2 references which we got from Prabhupada Priya, and I thought you will tell them here. So one is, in the letter of Srila Prabhupada, 1975, he writes about important and strict sadhana. We all have heard it, but I just wanted to remind us. Everyone must rise early, take a bath, attend Mangal Aarti, chant at least 16 good rounds, attend class, and follow the 4 regulative principles very strictly. If these things are lacks, then there is no question of spiritual life. Anyone who does not accept these things staunchly will have to fall down. And in another quote in Srimad Bhagavatam 5.8.8, he says, gradually Maharaj Bharat became very affectionate to the deer. Being attached to the raising the deer, Maharaj Bal forgot the rules and regulations for the advancement of spiritual life, and he gradually forgot to worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead. After a few days, he forgot everything about his spiritual advancement. From this, we can understand how we have to be very cautious in executing our spiritual duties by observing the rules and regulations and regular chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. If we neglect doing this, we will eventually fall down. We must rise early in the morning, bathe, attend Mangalarti, worship the deities, chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, study the Vedic literatures, and follow all the rules prescribed by the acharyas and the spiritual master. Yes, and again he said, if we deviate from this process, we may fall down, even though we may be very highly advanced, like Bharat Maharaj was very highly advanced. So I was thinking that also Prabhupada Priya brought us to this point, actually, to understand when we have such a high, or we keep our spiritual standards high to gain spiritual strength, and to everyone, like, a little roller coaster is coming up and down, then obviously we will sink a little, but we will be still in a net of being strong. But when we practice on a lower level these injunctions, then obviously there is no safety net when we go through the troubles, and we are much more affected by the modes of material nature, and and now not that spiritual strong and and safe. So one aspect is obviously to do it very regularly. Spiritual strength builds like a muscle. We hear many times. Association of devotees is very important to keep us going, because even if our emotions fluctuate or we are not feeling like, but in the association of devotees who also want to practice, who also want to become spiritual strong, we will get tagged along, and by this discipline, we actually build our power. What is discipline? So now there is one more question, just for a minute. So when we have this spiritual strength, we gain spiritual strength, so does it mean we never fall temptations? But no, it doesn't mean like this, So obviously there will be temptations, even so if we are very strong. But how do we then respond? Respond wisely to them. And because temptations are only strong when actually our inner connection is weak. So we need to really connect with Krishna, we really need to connect with our Guru Parampara in our heart, and we need to connect with the process, and then our heart is filled, and just like a child will forget a toy, something which looks like very tempting, and you want to enjoy it. When it gets something better, it gives easily up this item. So also for a practitioner, when we have developed that higher taste, then we can easily give up our desires or replace our desires for enjoyment, and rather offer ourselves completely in the service of the Lord. And who was a very beautiful example of this, obviously, is Ambarish Maharaj, isn't it? So Ambarish Maharaj, he offered his mind at the lotus feet of the Lord. He offers his, his speech in glorifying the Lord, his eyes in looking at the beautiful form of the Lord, his hands in, what does he do with his hands? Worshipping the deity, or cleaning the temple. He cleans the temple. So he engages all of his senses, all of his body, all of his desires, to link with the desires of the Lord. And in this way, he is such a wonderful example. And following this, we become definitely very strong in our spiritual life, Yeah. Okay, so, Okay, for the temptation, obviously on the path, even to not fall victim to temptations. Another way is also to offer prayers. Right at the moment, we become aware about what is going on here, and then we quickly take shelter at the lotus feet of Guru Krishna and pray for the right intelligence and guidance. Okay, so I wanted to would stop then here. Yes, Krishna Baba, you said you had a question.
You pretty much answered it.
Oh, I pretty much answered it. Okay, good. Yeah. All right, so we are ending here the Srimad Bhagavatam class. If anyone has to say something, please be free. Any question? We need a mic, you're saying? Oh, okay.
Hare Krishna. I was just wondering one thing. All these pastimes with Kardama happen on the earth. Devahut, Diti, Kardama, they were humans. It was Satya Yuga. But it seems to me there was not any samskaras involved. So I'm just wondering, this strength of samskara is applicable in Kali Yuga, or didn't perform any samskara? Like Garbhadana samskara, this would change everything. And I'm just wondering in that aspect.
Okay, I just say now what I understand. Because I rather have heard that the samskaras are performed in Satya, in all the other yugas, but not in Kali Yuga. And that's how everyone born in Kali Yuga is falling to be a Shudra. So
we don't see that they perform samskara here in this case. There was
so here in this case, maybe we don't get so much details. I do not know. Yes.
Obviously they didn't.
It was because she didn't think of performing samskaras, so she approached him. So yeah, in that situation there was no thought of it. Mm-hmm. But how they got all the other children, I cannot say. But I understand from Prabhupada saying that because we are not performing the Garbhadana samskara in this age of Kali Yuga, that's why we have to consider everyone else, everyone born to be as Shudra. Govinda Prabhu.
Okay, I'm close. Hare Krishna. Going back to the Visha Kanya, I'm actually wondering, we understand Varnashram, we've got the different orders, and the kings, they're part of this perfect system that's created by Krishna, it's civilized. But the kings are like, they're feeding girls poison, and there's all this intrigue going on. And I'm wondering if that aspect, is that part of Varnashram, or is that just some kind of demonic perversion? I mean, would the kings of both sides be doing this, or just the demonic kings would do this practice?
Mm-hmm. That's a nice question. Yes. I mean, as a businessman, you're allowed to cheat, for example, isn't it? So, for a king, I'm not so sure what all he can do to reign his. But obviously it has to be under religious principles, otherwise it's not dharmic. So, yeah. Does anyone have an answer to this question? Did you understand the question? Yeah. Yeah, I cannot judge that. No, I cannot say, but these were my thoughts. Thank you. Do you have a light on this question? What is your understanding?
Well, I don't have the answer, but I'm just thinking, it's like if one side cheats, then you have to cheat to get there. If someone's cheating, you cheat back. So it would suggest that if one side's doing that thing, then you might do the same to counteract it.
Cheating is cheating only until you make it reality. So I will invent a bulb. This is cheating. Why? Because it's not there. But once it is there, the cheating becomes reality. So you can create your reality in advance, and you believe it, and you hold to it. The thing is, you have to be integrated. Any action that you perform can be looked as not real until you have the integrity, until you realize it. In this way, you don't have to cheat people to have success. You make things in your mind and you hold to them. And people that you will meet up front, you don't need to see them up front. You make the situation the way you want it to be and you hold on to it. This way, you invoke in them the things that you will expect. So it is the power of your own consciousness, and this is where Krishna consciousness comes in. Krishna creates these situations. Good.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you. All right, so would you like still to answer? Okay, please. Can you give her the mic, please? Yesterday breakfast was a little bit late, so I hope today also. Yes, please. Oh, if there is not. Okay, fine. All right, so then we end here. Thank you very much for your attendance. Hare Krishna. Granted, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Jai Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram.